Hello everyone and welcome to my lesson. My name is Zhevnitskiy S. I'm a teacher of chemistry of NIS Taras. And before we will start, let's look at this picture. So, what do you see on this picture? As you noticed, here we have people who is divided in several groups. I ask you to think about what do they have in common and what is the difference between them. It is clear that group 1 consists of 3 members and they are a rock band. And group number 2 also singers, but they sing maybe in church. Group 3, that 3 boys are students and they have to learn hard, they have to do their best in the schools as you. Group number 4 is the superheroes who have to fight dark forces and protect citizens. And group number 5 are workers who do their job. Now, if we will put this in chemistry, we may think about compounds who have same chemical, same physical properties, so we can put them in the groups. And today we are going to discuss types of formulas and functional groups. For today, our first objectives will be understand that an organic compound generally consists of hydrocarbon component plus a functional group. Objective number 2. Identify the different functional groups. So we will be talking about different organic functional groups. And objective number 3. Differentiate among empirical, molecular, structural and condensed structural formulas. Okay, and let's start from the task number 1. Refresh your memory. Here I have 10 functional groups for you. Alkyne, aldehydes, alkene, haloalkane, alcohols, amine, ketone, esters, carboxylic acids and alkene. Now, for the formulas, I also have 10 formulas. This one, this one, this one, this, and 3 more here. Okay, and for example, I have also 10 examples for you. So, your task will be match formulas from the table number 1 with formulas from the table number 2 and with examples in table number 3. But before you will do it, you can see a funny video that will include all these formulas. Please enjoy.
Alkanes, they're driving me insane. All single bonded carbons joined together in a chain. CnH2n plus 2 is the formula we use. Methane, propane, and octane are good fuels to choose. Alkenes, their structure really screams. While sleeping August Kekulé had double bonded dreams. If you have 5 carbons, H's will be 10. They undergo addition when you add a halogen. Alkynes, the molecules that shine. They have got a triple bond somewhere along their spine. They have 2 less H's than their alkene analogs. Some are used to make the toxin that's produced by frogs. Ribbit. Hydrocarbon molecules that have some H and C. They form the basic building blocks that make both you and me. Without hydrocarbons, life just can't exist. If they were not with us, they would sure be missed. Hey, where'd they go? Alcohols have a hydroxyl group. And OH that is bonded to the chain, yeah, that's a scoop. It's covalent bonded, so the sucker's not a base. Methanol evaporates real quick and leaves no trace. Hey, where'd you go? If you have carboxyl group that's sticking out the end, then inorganic acid is what you have, my friend. If carboxyl group is in the middle of the chain, then you have an ester, the odor's pretty plain. Phew! If you have a carbonyl, a double bonded O, one end of the molecule, that's where it needs to go. Dead organic samples can be soaked in aldehyde. It's great for preservation, now just open wide. If the carbonyl is in the middle, not the end, a ketone's what you have, your fingernails you'll tend. They are good dissolvers of much nonpolar stuff. 2-propanone is good for when the going's really rough. Methyl ketone, that's my friend. Amines and amines both have a nitrogen. Amines and an NH2 and crop up now and then. Amines also have a double bonded O. Now my song is over, it's time for me to go. Bye-bye. Hydrocarbon molecules that have some H and C. They form the basic building blocks that make both you and me. Without hydrocarbons, life just can't exist. If would sure be missed.
I miss you.
Sometimes they have some other atoms dangling from the chain. Identify a family without a lot of pain. Find which group belongs to which organic family. Just open up your eyes and the world belongs to thee. It's a family thing.
Yeah, a lot of information I know, but I think it will help you. Okay, before we will check this work, I wondered how it will be in my classes. Can my students do this without refreshing memory? Now you will see what they will do. It's time to check your answers. You may see correct answers on the video below, so you can pause it and mark yourself if it's correct or not. Okay, now, when you are good with organic chemistry functional groups, I think you are good. You are good. All cool kids do organic chemistry. I have task number 2 for you. So, here I have 5 organic chemistry functional groups, and here I have 5 more organic compounds, which includes different functional groups. So, your task will be to name the functional group. You will see the formula and you have to write near this formula functional group. For example, alkane, alkyne, haloalkane, carboxylic acid, etc. Now please pause the video and do this. After that we will check this. Okay, I think you are clear with this. Let's check. Now, we will do column number 1. So, I will just put it here. Okay, let's go. Now, if you see this formula, you can see that we have hydrocarbon, which includes hydrogen, carbon, double bonded O and H. You will know that this is then aldehyde. Okay, let's check number 2. Here we have radical number 1, radical number 2, COO. Yeah, as you know, this is an ester. I think you are good with this. Next one. You will see here hydrocarbon radical and OH. OH means that it is an alcohol. Yeah, great. Next one. The first thing you can notice here is the triple bond. Triple bond means that it is an alkyne. Alkyne. Yeah, great. Next one. Here we have hydrocarbon radical and we have C double bonded oxygen and OH. This is a carboxylic acid. Great. Let's do next one. Okay, let's start with another. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, let's check this. Here you have hydrocarbon compound. It includes only carbon atoms and hydrogen atoms. Let's count this. 2 carbon atoms and 6 hydrogen atoms. If you will remember the general formula for different functional groups, you will notice that this formula will be Cn H2n plus 2. So it will be alkane. Yep. Next. The first thing that you will notice here is the chlorine atom. If it is a chlorine atom, it will be haloalkane. Yeah, definitely. Next one. Also, the first thing that you will notice is a double bond. If you remember from the previous slides, double bond includes in alkenes. Yep, this is an alkene. Next one, as I told you before, compounds that includes nitrogen are amines and amines. But this functional group is for amines. So this compound will be amine. Great. And next one. Here we have hydrocarbon radical, and C, which is bonded with these two hydrocarbon radicals and double bonded with oxygen. This is a ketone. Yeah, I hope you are great with this, because I think this is very easy for you. Let's do another one. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and you are still with me. Okay, as you noticed from the previous task, we have different types of formulas. As you can see, here we have carbon atoms, hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms, and this formula represents dashes, which means that carbon is single bonded with hydrogen, that carbon is single bonded with another hydrogen, that carbon is single bonded with another carbon and double bonded with oxygen. Here we have no dashes, which means we cannot say about bonds. And this one is the molecular formula, which show us only how many atoms of carbons and how many atoms of hydrogen here is. Okay. Let's try to figure out what is the molecular formula and what is empirical formula. I often want to think about molecular formula is the definition how many atoms are each element in the compound. I mean that the molecular formula will show us how many atoms of each element are in a compound. Let's try to figure out how many each atoms in the compound of a 10. So we have here carbon atoms and hydrogen atoms. Let's write carbon atoms 1, 2, and hydrogen atoms 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, molecular formula tells you how many atoms of each element are in the compound. Empirical formula, it's all about the ratio. Let's try to read this one. Empirical formula is the simplest or most reduced ratio of atoms in a compound. Okay, let's try to figure out what is the smallest or the most reduced ratio of the atoms in this compound. Okay, here we are. 2 carbon atoms and 6 hydrogen atoms. Let's think about the biggest number. We can divide these numbers both. I think that the biggest number for these two numbers is 2. So we will divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. And we will get 1 carbon atom and 2 hydrogen atoms. So this means that the lowest or the most reduced ratio of atoms, carbon and hydrogen atoms in this compound is C1H2. So we have here the molecular formula which show us how many atoms of each element is in the molecular formula, and we have here the empirical formula which shows us the smallest ratio or the most reduced ratio of atoms in this compound. Next type of formulas is structural formula and condensed structural formula. If you think about structural formula, you will notice that structural formula indicates how the atoms in a molecule are bonded to each other. Keyword in this definition is bond. So, one more time. Structural formula indicates how the atoms in a molecule are bonded to each other. Let's try to find what is the compound. As you can see here, we have hydrocarbon radical and we have carboxylic acids functional groups. Now, if you will look at this formula close, you will see that in each case we have dashes, which represents us the bonds. If you will see on this part of this formula, you will see that carbon atoms is bonded with hydrogen atoms. Carbon atoms is bonded with hydrogen with this one. Carbon atoms is bonded, single bonded with this carbon. This carbon is double bonded with oxygen and oxygen with OH. Okay, what about condensed structural formula? Condensed structural formula is the condensed version of structural formula that doesn't include dashes to represent bonds. If you will see the definition, you can easily construct the condensed structural formula. Let's throw out from this structural formula all dashes which represents our bonds and try to write this. C, H, 1, 2, 3, which represent us hydrocarbon radical. Next one, C, O, O, H. Here we are. So now we have structural formula which represents us the bonds between atoms in this molecule, and we have condensed structural formula which is condensed version of structural formula. But in this case we cannot see any dashes, any bonds. So this is the condensed structural formula. Next one, let's figure out the structural formula for this compound. As you can see, here we have carbon atoms with 3 hydrogen atoms, carbon atoms with 2 hydrogen atoms, OH. Let's try to draw this formula with bonds. Okay, C. Here we have 3 dashes which show us bonds with hydrogen atoms. Now we will see dash which represent us bond between this carbon and this carbon. Okay, here we have 2 hydrogen atoms, this one and this one, and OH functional group, which is, by the way, is an alcohol. Great. Okay, next task will be for you as a revision of all material that you watched in this video. So, you have 30 seconds to complete the table of pentane or hexane, or you can pause the video. As it was before, I asked my students to do this task. Let's watch what they can do. In the conclusion, I want to say to you that the organic chemistry is very interesting part of chemistry, because it has a lot of functional groups and a lot of compounds which have different properties, chemical or physical properties, which have different impacts on the environment, which have different uses. So, in this particular lesson, we were learning types of formulas and functional groups. Let's try to figure out, are we okay with object number 1? So, our objective number 1 was to understand that an organic compound generally consists of hydrocarbon component plus a functional groups. Are we okay with this? Yes, I think we are okay. We noticed that in general carboxylic acids ketones, aldehydes, esters and another functional groups includes hydrocarbon component plus functional group. Great. Objective number 2. Identify the different functional groups. Yeah, I think it's completely done. And objective number 3 is to differentiate among empirical, molecular, structural and condensed structural formula. I think we are done with this and our lesson was good. I think all of these objectives are achieved. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe. Goodbye.